In every major mythology, supreme deities follow a simple rule. They do not lose, especially not to their own creations. Yet hidden in ancient texts is an account of Ram, the ultimate god-king, going to war against his most loyal servant, Hanuman, and Ram lost. This is a strict scriptural narrative. It sits quietly in the Uttara Kanda of the Skanda Purana, largely skipped over by conventional teachers. Under normal logic, this confrontation makes zero sense. Hanuman is the absolute embodiment of devotion. The idea of him raising a hand against Ram breaks every mathematical rule of their dynamic. It forces a total collapse of hierarchical logic. We must ask how a master's absolute power can be entirely neutralized by his own servant's loyalty. The catalyst for this conflict arrived at the royal court in the form of sage Vishwamitra. He demanded the immediate execution of a young prince named Yayati over a calculated insult to his disciple. Ram was trapped. The concept of Raj Dharma, the absolute duty of a king, legally bound him to honor the sage's demand. Despite his personal reluctance, Ram gave the execution order. Terrified, Yayati fled through the streets until he collapsed at the feet of Hanuman. With a single plea for help, Hanuman granted the boy the universal sanctuary of a devotee. The universe suddenly hit a logical deadlock. If Ram backed down, the rule of law and his authority as king would fracture. If Hanuman backed down, his core identity of unwavering devotion and protection would shatter. There was no escape from the collision. The escalation was immediate. Ram sent his fiercest warriors, led by Lakshmana, to execute the decree. But when they arrived at the temple steps, the soldiers found themselves physically paralyzed. Hanuman deployed no weapons and threw no punches. He sat peacefully with his eyes closed, simply chanting Ram's name. This visual logic model illustrates exactly what was happening. The continuous chanting of Ram's name acted as an impenetrable shield. Every incoming vector of kinetic force hit this sound boundary and was instantly absorbed and nullified. Ram's own name was actively dismantling his own royal army. With the proxy army entirely immobilized, physical force was proven useless. The supreme creator of the law had to step onto the battlefield himself. Ram arrived at the temple holding Kodanda, the divine bow that had never once failed to find its mark. He drew the string back and released arrow after arrow, but instead of striking Hanuman, the divine weapons froze entirely motionless in midair. The physics engine of the universe had essentially broken. It took the arrival of sage Narada to diagnose the exact problem. In this feedback loop, Hanuman had emptied his ego, making the target node entirely Ram's essence. The weapons attacked their own power. The system entered an error state. A force cannot execute a destructive command against its own source code. God could not defeat Hanuman. To do so would require God to mathematically destroy himself. Witnessing this absolute limit of divine power, sage Vishwamitra immediately withdrew his demand. The system reset, and the boy's life was spared. The frozen arrows dissolved into light. Ram lowered his bow and walked over to the one being in creation who had just bested him. Ram looked at Hanuman with profound awe. He understood that the gridlock he just experienced wasn't a failure of his divinity, but its ultimate expression. Hanuman had recognized that Ram's true essence, to protect those who surrender, was more vital than any temporary royal decree. In neutralizing the king's hand, Hanuman had saved the god's heart. He had protected Ram from the consequences of his own rigid command. This event defines the boundary between simple, blind obedience and true devotion. Ultimate loyalty does not mean blindly following the beloved's orders. It means embodying the highest ideals of the beloved themselves. When surrender is absolute, the devotee absorbs the full power of the deity. There is no vulnerable ego left to attack. Love and total devotion create a structural force so indestructible that not even the creator of the rules has the power.